there's so many things about biking that I love. One of them is being out and away from society. And I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes just getting away from the everyday world, getting away from the phone, getting away from the media, the politics, the religion, and all those kind of things, and just getting back out and being in nature, and just, depending on just yourself. There's a lot of things that a person can learn when they're out on a bike, especially when they're doing long distance races. The longest bike ride to date was about 3,000 miles from Banff, Canada to Mexico along the Continental Divide. It's a race that's completely in the wilderness, unsupported, you're on your own. Lots of bears, lots of wildlife, you have snakes, you have mountain lions, wolves, things of that nature. Get your water out of streams. You deal with hypothermia on a regular basis, and you get into the Great Basin and you deal with being in 104, 105 degrees and no food for a couple of days. So it was a pretty extreme race. I mean, in that race, I broke my hand within 30 miles of the start. Probably the first 2 days, the biggest thought in my mind was, how can I find a way to get off this bike? Your mind plays tricks on you. It's not the physical things that bother you the most, it's the mental and emotional. So it's pretty tough, it's pretty cold. When we started in Canada, there was tons of bears. That's probably it actually is the largest population of grizzly bears in North America, is where we had to come through. And you're in the wilderness, you're 300 or 400 miles at a time away from getting food or supplies. So your mind is telling you, maybe my knee hurts a little bit, maybe I should kind of not race this race, or maybe I hear something in my bike and I don't really want to make it worse. So you always find all these reasons not to be there. And then at some point in time, you kind of settle down and decide, I want to ride this bike till I finish. And then your mind goes to thinking about all kinds of things. Finished, 183 of us started, 37 of us finished. One fatality, one gentleman was killed by a bear. I've been very blessed to be able to have introduced cycling at Baylor. We have 6 wonderful classes that I teach. It's like getting paid to train almost. I get to ride with those students each and every day. I ride a lot on my own. I probably ride 300 or 400 miles a week, pretty much every week. So training is just having fun, basically. The last race I did for Emma Beth. She's a 2-year-old that has cancer. I have a 2-year-old grandson. I have several grandkids, but my youngest is 2, and he and I are like best of best friends. We're inseparable. And when my wife came home and said, Missy's daughter has cancer, has a brain tumor, and I just thought how horrible that would be if that had happened to my grandson or somebody that I knew. And so I thought, if I'm going to ride my bike 3,000 miles across the country, I can't think of a better reason to do it than to try to help this family. The race from Canada to Mexico, the Tour Divide, had a lot of wonderful, wonderful experiences in it. In those type of races, you learn a lot. You learn, first of all, more than anything else, you learn that you're not the most important thing in the world. I mean, like we think we are. The world was going on each and every day while I was in the middle of nowhere thinking sometimes I might not get back. The race is really, really pretty intense at times, and there's times you wonder, if you've done the right thing or not, because it's not like there's help readily available for you. So you struggle. You have a lot of battles when you're out there, but some of the things that, were the greatest to me were, I remember coming up this one mountain. It was a terrible day. I had a broke hand. It was early in the race, and I was trying to get out of Canada back into the United States. I would give anything to have cell service just to see what's going on at home, And so I remember I was struggling. It was a long day. I had a couple hundred miles to go, and I said, I'm just going to make it today no matter what. Traveled all night, went through a lot of bears. In the mountain pass that I was going through, it was snowing, sleeting, it was freezing cold. Got my tent out, got in my tent for 30 minutes. Everything I had on was soaked. You don't have anything else. So it was all outside of my tent. I was basically, naked in my tent trying to get warm, which wasn't working. Plus I was terrified because there were bears everywhere. So I said, I'm gonna finish. I got out, got my clothes back on, and started on up to try to make this pass and get down the other side. And I remember thinking, if I can get to the top of this pass, it was just in the morning time. And I thought, if I can get to the top of this pass, I think if I get cell service, I may just call it in. I may just, this is too much. And I remember getting to the top of the pass, and it's like it just stopped raining, and a big rainbow came out. And it was incredible because the rainbow was below me. I was at the very top, and I was looking down. I could see both ends of the rainbow, and it was like I could reach out and just step on it. It was kind of like God was saying, you're going to be fine. You just got to calm down and just keep pedaling your bike, and things will be great. And it was also cool because at that time I got the first cell service that I'd had the whole time, and it was so many people that I had no idea were following me online, telling me things like, man, this is the most inspirational thing I've ever seen, and Emma Beth can't quit with the chemo, so you can't quit this race. And all those things what just really gave me the power to be able to go ahead and complete the race, because truly at that point I was pretty much done. At least once in your life, you need to challenge yourself beyond where you're comfortable. To find out who you really are and what you're really capable of, I would say at least once, put yourself in a situation where you have to depend on yourself and no one else, and just see how you come out of that. You learn a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about how resilient you are. You'll learn a lot about how to deal with life. I am totally different, and I know this sounds crazy, but of all the things I've done in the 57 years of my life, that race has changed the way I approach my family. It's changed the way I approach my religion. It's changed the way I approach people and my students. It really changed me forever, just by helping me to understand a lot more about what's important in life and what's really not important in life. And we have, I would tell them we have a lot more than what we need. I made it for 3,000 miles in the middle of nowhere with just that bike. And I had everything that I needed the whole time. So we have a lot in our lives, and sometimes it tends to get in the way of who we are and who we can be. And so for once, maybe at some point, challenge yourself just to see who you really are.